Let's see how we sound today, everybody.
How do we sound today?
Oh, you sound great. Everything sounds very, very nice. This is really, really cool. Okay.
I ate a hot sausage in the car on the way.
Can I get some reverb?
I mean, no. There's already reverb because I haven't finished sound treating the damn room, so it's bouncing all over the place. But hey, you know what? Enough of that. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to Start the Beat with Sykes. My name is Sykes and this is my podcast. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone who checked out the last episode. If you're one of the people who listened to that conversation, I hope you enjoyed it and thanks so much for coming back. But for those of you who are new to the show, welcome. Please feel free to make yourselves at home. And as always, there's beer and soda in the fridge. What's going on? Hope everyone's well. Want to thank you all for being here. Yeah. I'm sitting here today with my friends Christina and David from the Shadow event. Before we get into that, I am going to promote just a few concerts, events, things where people play music, and maybe you show up or maybe you don't. It's up to you, but it's better if you come. In more ways than one, but that's another story. July 12th, you can catch Grey Walker at the Smiling Moose. That is my death metal band. July 18th, you can catch Sykes and the New Violence at Scratch Food and Beverage in Troy Hill. I kind of skipped on that because in here I have Scratch and the New Violence as the date because I guess I'm cute or something. And then I normally don't announce dates this far in advance, but being that I'm sitting here with two people from the Shadow event, I'm going to announce a date that I haven't announced publicly yet, but by the time this episode goes out, which should be July 8th, this show will be announced. So if that's not confusing enough, July 26th, Sykes and the New Violence and the Shadow event will be playing at Get Hip Records. Make some noise for Get Hip. There will be a third band on that bill who is yet to be announced, unless we have figured it out by the time this episode airs. But for now, the two of us are, well, I guess the three of us, but two if you count bands. I don't know, whatever. We are playing that show together. And now, let's get into it.
Okay.
The Shadow event.
Yes.
What is the Shadow event?
You mean where the name come from?
Just what is it?
What is it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's so ominous.
I think it's a band.
Or friends that like to just get together, have a couple beers, and drink music. And
that's what happens if you have enough beers, you drink music. That's exactly what happens.
It came from so we take pictures. You know, you do that, right? So I had a friend come over. I wanted some nighttime pictures. I've told this story on other occasions, so I'm sorry if you've heard this story before, but you're gonna hear it again. So I had a friend come over to take pictures at night so we can get like shadow pictures, right? Obviously you need a real camera, real photographer. So those happen to be the photos that I posted for people to give their ideas for a band name, because at this point we just could not decide on a name. And then one was that was available also. But anyway, so we kind of combined a couple of them and came up with the Shadow event. But it kind of works because, it can say whatever you want it to say to you. But to me, it kind of says a few different things. Like the logo that I created, it's, like the light's coming from behind. You know what I mean? So it's like you could be coming from darkness, but there's still light, so it could be like that. And then I also, hate posers. So.
Yeah, posers. The cool thing, I think it's a good band name, and I think it's really fitting for the style of music that you do. For anybody that isn't familiar with the band, you are like, we'll just put like a post-punk blanket on it, but there's a little bit more to it than that. It's a darker but accessible sound. Mm-hmm. And, I guess, I never really care too much about what bands' influences are or anything like that. But with, writing this type of music, was this something that was new for you in the band, or had you been doing music like this prior to this project? Style-wise. I
actually was doing some music down in Jacksonville, Florida that is somewhat similar, but it was its own flavor, and it was a little harder. So I am enjoying this immensely. Yeah, it's perfect. Most of the songs, actually all of the songs except for one, Chicago, and our guitarist Mark, who wanted to be here, but something came up, so he couldn't make it. He wrote a song while he was out in Chicago, staying at the Hard Rock Hotel.
Yeah,
and I guess like you can rent equipment and play it there. So he wrote a song, and that became Chicago. But everything else, and we have 4 more like on the table that we have to finish. But everything that we write comes from freestyling.
Cool. And how long has the band been been playing now? Then at this point,
2.5 years.
About 2.5.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
And it's funny, one of our shortest songs took almost 2 years to write.
Yeah.
From the.
Is it like just like the politics of writing a song with a band? Does everybody kind of add their 2 cents and then?
It's encouraged.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Cool. So, how is that dynamic? I guess, like nobody in this room is obviously very young. We've all probably been playing in bands for a while, so we've kind of gone through the bullshit. And I think, once you get to a certain age, it's really easy for the ego to slide. Do you have any issues with ego when you're like writing songs and putting stuff together? Or do you find it really easy to work with other people?
I think we really go out of our way to accommodate everybody's ideas and within the group.
Yeah. Yeah, but certainly egos can, hinder the creative process, the writing process for sure. But it works out pretty well. Any ideas that one might have, we say it, and we're just all in sync. So, you know what I mean? Everything just organically works perfectly.
That's good. That's a rare thing to find. Right. As I've gotten older, and I've said this before on the show to some degree, but, playing in a band now, like if I can't like or enjoy my time, like if I don't like the people I'm in a band with, like there's no fucking reason to be around them. Like, nope. Maybe 10 years ago, like I could deal with an asshole in a band because it's like, well, we can't find a bass player, so Todd's fine. I just made that up. There's nobody named Todd. But, now it's like I want to be in a band with people that I get along with because it's like there's only so much time. It's
like a marriage.
Yeah. It's a relationship, if you will. It could be a very, very complicated relationship. Yeah, it's more like a family than a marriage because it's like either somebody's acting like a fucking kid or you have to be, fucking mom or dad. So it's a lot more like, like going to the show is like trying to, gather all the kids and get them to Wally World,
Right. Yeah, exactly.
To fucking do that thing. So, now being in bands, this is a newer project and you've both probably played in bands before. You mentioned you have Dave. Mm-hmm. What has your past musical experience been like?
After we had previously played in a band when we were fresh out of high school.
Oh, okay, cool.
Together and
so you two have known each other for a while then.
And the guitars, yeah.
Oh, cool.
We all went to high school together.
Oh, that's fucking killer.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
We all graduated in the same year, yeah. Same class.
Yeah, we were all in the same music theory class in high school.
That's super rad. I don't fucking know. Like, I have one friend that I went to high school with that I still talk to, and he's not even a music dude.
Yeah, I don't talk to him.
He likes one band. He likes one fucking band. Can you guess what band he likes?
I probably don't want to know.
It's a surprising one for one band to like.
I don't know how old you are. What do you?
Okay, so I'm 33.
Yeah. Okay, 33. So high school was.
I graduated in 2003.
Limp Bizkit.
No, that's a good guess, but no. Close. I mean,
Creed.
To be fair, he did say a good band.
They're not bad. I'm indifferent towards this band, but I'll just say it. So his favorite band is Tool.
Oh, okay. They're good.
They're a good band, but that's such an odd band to be like, oh, I like one band and it's fucking Tool. Me and Evan, who's the guitar player in Sykes and the New Violence and Greywalker, we were just talking yesterday about how weird it is that Tool is as big as they are because, like, if you were to, like, on paper, like, their music's pretty not accessible, like they do some really interesting time stuff.
You need to do math.
Yeah. And for them to be as popular as they are, it's like, we said that there was like a yin and yang of bands that shouldn't be as popular as they are based on like this, just their technicality. And Tool is on one side and the other side is the Dave Matthews Band. Mm-hmm. because they're a band that on paper, they're insanely talented, and like their rhythm section and their grooves, and it's like they write really, really technically good songs. Like, and like, if you like that song Crash, like try to learn that song and play it. Like, it's really weird. And for it to be as big of a deal as it was, and that was the same time as Tool, like we were trying to figure out like, how did these bands blow up not being like, you know, just simple 4-chord stuff?
I think I saw them in '92 at Lollapalooza.
Dave or Tool?
Tool. I just remember they exploded out of the gate.
Oh yeah, they were.
So they only had Undertow at the time, but and I guess they played only a 30-minute set. But
I remember listening.
So you can condense that down to 30 minutes. You got some real.
Yeah, I listened to a podcast
stuff
with Maynard talking about like the start of the band and how like he was like watching other bands in his area, like other local bands at the time, and how it just made sense for him. Like he understood the way that like all the behind the scenes stuff worked for some reason. It just clicked in his head. So whenever he got that band together, it was just like a second nature to him to like learn how to like market it properly, which I think just has like probably why they were able to get the fan base that they have now. It's just like understanding all that behind the scenes stuff. I think it's really easy to get caught up in the, well, let's just work on good music. And
right.
The music will speak for itself. And I don't think that's really ever been the case.
Yeah, there's definitely a business end that needs, if you want to go anywhere, if you want to do anything.
I'm sure some of the greatest bands out there we've never heard. They've only couldn't get out of the garage.
Yeah, it's really, really crazy, like how much, you know, the business and the marketing and publicity, that's a word I can't say, how much all of that stuff really comes into effect. So, you know, now, even more so now with our social medias and all that crap, and like I barely give a crap about any of this stuff, but like I have to use it because I juggle 1,000 different things, and if you don't have those technologies, it's like you don't exist. What is the social media age been like for both of you now, being in a band and having to promote shows and make posts and all that stuff? Are you into it, or do you think it's annoying?
I enjoy it because I love my band, so I love promoting, and I love all my fellow musicians. That's
a killer answer.
But it's time consuming and it's exhausting. Yeah.
I've been like trying to find like healthier ways to engage with it. So I feel like on the surface, it's like, okay, cool. It's like, you know, this is it's like Facebook is like it's like a telephone pole, and I can put my flyer and my thoughts on it. But the problem now is like everybody's stapling their fucking thoughts to the thing. Like even people that aren't really doing anything, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
The only thing that bums me out about a lot of the social media is that there really isn't one that's focused on music where people go to learn about music or just art in general. Mm-hmm. It's all very homogenized. So
make it happen, Sykes.
It's people have tried.
Yeah. Well, Facebook
if Bandcamp can't do it, nobody can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, Bandcamp does like a really killer job, but like the average, and they have probably the best possibly structured service, I think, for somebody like, because you can sign up as a fan and just listen to music, and SoundCloud's like that too. Mm-hmm. But I think it's such a small percentage of people that do that. Mm-hmm. I think like, and I don't want to start going on harping about MySpace, but I think MySpace did it really smart because they had MySpace proper and then MySpace music. So it's like you didn't really have to leave the site to go to a place. It was like connected.
Yeah.
It would be cool if Facebook had like a Facebook art or Facebook music or something like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great. I remember when Facebook first came out, they had you could put music on there. Do you remember that?
No.
Mm-hmm. You were able to put music on there.
Okay.
Like, you know, MP3, like audio.
You know what? I think I do vaguely remember then like if you had like a page and you can like add the tabs and you could have like a music tab.
Yep.
And they used to have, and then they had the one where you could have the tabs that like synced up. I cannot talk today, bro. What a nightmare. I cannot talk today. So yeah, with, I remember just, that's the other thing that kills me about Facebook. It's just this, every time I get comfortable with how it works. It's like they change everything again.
Yeah,
it's like this constant, like, just learning how to keep up with things, and like, where did that thing go? Why do they keep doing it? And I'm just convinced that like the only reason that it keeps changing is because there's a team of people whose job it is to just design the site. And if it's working good, it's like, well, we don't have a job anymore. So we got to fuck something up. Don't tell anybody about it. And now we have another 6 months of work.
I recently made a post about that. Did you see it? I was like, something like, I think the person who's in charge of all the Facebook updates has some issues or something like that. I forget how I said it. It was funny. See, I'm having problems talking to it. Yeah, I agree. And so it's like, it's our job. So it's like you going to work, going to your desk, but every like once a week somebody goes and like fucks with all your shit and shuffles all your papers around, and you have to go in and you have to get a grasp on what the hell's going on, and you're like, okay, I'm back in it. It's annoying when they keep updating.
Yeah,
but I think you're right. They're like, we're going to get him a job.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Dave? How are you dealing with, I'm sorry, Dave or David? Does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
All right. Like Dave. I'm going to call you that. So you and social media, how do you engage with it at all? Are you into it?
I try not to.
Yeah.
I just see too much ugliness on it, you know?
Yeah. So, that's kind of a point that I was going to get back to, is like finding like a healthy way to interact with it, that it doesn't become toxic, because there's a lot of like positive things that can come from it. And one thing I always tell people is like, you have control over like who you're friends with on the thing. So like you either just, delete your friends or accept that some of your friends are assholes, but that could be rough when there's like family and shit like that too. But also you don't have to look at your wall. And I've kind of like really trained myself to just like, if I'm going on, just post something and try not to get sucked in.
Yep.
It's really easy to get sucked in, though.
I want to support, because we post and people respond and they comment, and, so I want to do that too. Not that it's a chore and that, you know what I mean? I want to do that also. I want to see what other fellow band members are doing and, what they have to say and whatnot. So it kind of just comes down to you. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to know which people on there are posting shit that's just going to be like, I don't want to read this.
Yeah,
so then as soon as you see their name, you're like, you know what? Yep, nope, keep going.
Yeah, I think it's like this, and there's like this weird thing too, where I think that it would be really nice if there was an easy way to just kind of like reset everything. I guess you could just make a new Facebook account, but that seems like so corny to like make another account. So I feel like you should have to like, take responsibility for your stupid actions if you added a bunch of shitty people to your Facebook. But it would be nice to have an option, where you could restart. I think maybe all of us should restart with this clarity, being 5-10 years into like these platforms really being a part of our lives. It's probably closer to 10 now, right? Facebook's old. Yeah. Ugh, God, old. Where, we revisit these or reintroduce ourselves to these, knowing what could be possible if we accept every friend request, if we like every page and do all that, and just be a little bit more cautious about those things. Because I think at first it was like, I want to have 2,000 friends. That sounds great. But like, it's hard enough just to manage, having 3 other people in your band.
Yeah, I'm very selective on who I accept to be a friend. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, you look like you're going to bother me. I'm not accepting your friendship. You definitely look like you'll be bothering me.
Totally. And
if I've had a beer with you, you can be my friend.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I take that. I wanted to say that, I appreciate, Christina, that you're always like liking a lot of posts. You chime in a lot on listener questions. I think we've answered some of your questions.
That's right. Yeah. Nice.
I do want to put out there though, and let's get this straight. We have some stuff we got to work out.
Okay.
Between me and you.
Ooh.
It's actually not that serious.
Yeah.
I'm just an idiot, and I do not know how to pronounce your last name.
That's okay. Everyone does that. How do you think you say it?
Okay, so
especially on a day where you can't talk.
Okay, so I think it's, my guess phonetically was Santa Vica.
Yes. Applause.
Yeah.
Woo! Nice.
Is that it?
Yes.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, much like a like a synthesizer or a weird piece of musical equipment or a computer, like if you kind of just take an extra moment to kind of sit down, look at it and figure out what everything does, you can kind of get it right. And that's kind of what I did with your name. I was like, okay, you know, it's like, this can't be too complicated.
I'm impressed.
That's what I went with.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people just don't take the time to actually like read or like engage with the thing that they're trying to engage with, you know?
Right.
Everybody's in a rush. Fast, got to do it now, do it quick, you know? Nobody takes time to do anything anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
It blows my mind. I hate like now, like this is another sort of music related thing that maybe the two of you can connect with me on, since we're all, we'll say, you know, we're all over the age of 25, so we can connect on this, right? Albums. I still like listening to albums, and if I'm putting out music, I want to put out a fucking album. But like, I'm very aware that just albums are dead. It's like nobody wants to listen to an album. Even people that like you, I mean, like nobody, you know, it's like the majority.
Yeah,
you know, because I mean, like
it's a single culture.
I go on, you know, I manage all of our online streaming things, and I see like whenever we release albums for the past few years, it's always like the first half of the album does really well, and then the second half doesn't. Okay. And I don't think it has anything to do with like, oh, like, well, this is trash. I think it's just like, oh, like people listen to this for the 20 minutes they were in the car or whatever, and that's it. Nobody's taking the time to just listen to a full album. And it's not like it was back in the day when like, oh, you had a CD in the player, so it just, whenever you get back in the car, it picks up where you left off. You know what I mean? It's like everybody's streaming music on their phone, so they unplug, they go into, you know, Giant Eagle or whatever. Shout outs to Pittsburgh for anybody. Yeah. And, you know, then they're checking their Facebook and their Instagram, and then, you know, it's gone.
A
you
video
know,
pops up on
they're not going back and then plugging their phone back in, and then it's picking up where they left off most of the time. Right. So that stinks. So I totally get why singles and EPs, even to some extent, are bigger, but like, I want to fucking put out albums. I love albums. Yeah. It's just like, it means so much to me as a listener and a fan of music to like get a whole body of work from somebody. Like, I like to actually sit down and engage with a full thing. It bums me out so much when like, oh, somebody put out new music and it's like 2 songs. I'm like, fuck them. Like, you know, like, I get it. It's like, is there an album coming? I want an album. Yeah. And I mean that on like a huge, like a band, like a big mainstream band, not like a local band. I get like local bands, that's fine, you know, and it takes time. I'm talking about like an artist that like I've been waiting for new music for like 4 years, you know what I mean? And it's like, here's our 2 songs. It's like, God damn it. And then they make you wait. Then they release another 2 songs.
Who's doing that?
And then they release another song. Yeah. So there's a band I like called Plague Vendor, and they did this where like they started releasing like 1 single at a time. And they were like releasing singles every other month. And then it's like, cool, the album's coming out. And then the album came out, and I'd already heard half of it because they released it as singles. Okay. There's a hip hop artist from the UK too called Little Sims who did the same thing. She had released like over half of her album before the album actually dropped.
Yeah, I think the idea, to keep activity going on your social media page.
Yeah,
that's the important part in it. But if you play a single, I'll listen to it once if I like it, maybe twice. But then I don't go back to it. But an album, I'll listen to an album 4 or 5 times.
Totally. You know? It's like, it'd be like, we're going to release 10 minutes of this movie. And then we're going to release the next 10. And then the next 10. And then the next 10. But if you want to see the rest, you know, come to the movie theater and we'll show you the 50 minutes that you already saw to watch the 30 that you had it.
9 months from now, I may release an album.
Yeah, it's.
Well, to be fair, the hip hop industry does it like that. Like, they just constantly are pushing something new.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
They'll have like 10 things waiting, you know, and just videos and so that is a little bit different. But yeah, it's kind of weird. I mean, I like EPs, you know. I'd like to see us do that. We really haven't had that discussion yet because we were in the studio and our songs are getting mixed down now, and then we have a few more songs to finish, and then we'll go ahead and record them. And I would like to then have everything in the pot once everything's done, and then kind of mix it, mash it, you know, and decide which is going where.
Yeah, it's
like
recording is fun. It's so much fun. I'm so excited for you. You're in like a really exciting time frame right now. Especially since like you haven't released anything like officially as the Shadow event, right? Like there's no albums or anything. So this is the best. Whenever like it's like, like, have you already started thinking about like your album artwork and titles and things like that, or have you not gone down that rabbit hole?
Not yet. I want to finish these few songs yet.
I'm in the shower. I go off.
I have.
We're flying in space. We're running through woods.
He'd be the one to, him and John, the drummer, might be the ones to really come up with ideas. Like,
cool.
I'm all about the music and the business and, the hustling and whatnot. But they're kind of, the album titles and artwork and
I love all that stuff. I already had the album title for the next Sykes album before we put out the last one. Yeah.
So did that help you navigate how to write your songs? Like, did you write your songs for that title? It
has, actually, and that was not intended, but in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, I know the name of this album. It's kind of creepy. And like all of those songs are kind of like a lot spookier in a way. And I think it's been a result of like, well, if I'm putting out an album called this, it better represent
the theme.
Yeah. So it's been cool. I'm super stoked. We're in the middle now of like, we have about like 10 tracks kind of like very, very loose. I'd say about like 4 that actually have lyrics and stuff. And then like a few other ones where it's kind of like, just loops on a computer where it's like, we'll turn that into a song, got kind of working on it because like, since we're like hip hop backbone and we don't have a live drummer anymore. I'm writing most of the songs just on the computer. So writing music is a lot different than like it would be with Greywalker or maybe even with your band. So let's talk about a bit the songwriting process for the Shadow event. I imagine every song's probably different, but is there a certain way that you prefer to start writing songs? Is it always like in the practice space?
Yeah, it's always in the practice space. Usually we'll work on something new that we haven't or run through a couple songs just to get loose. And then usually something breaks. Something needs needs some attention. So in the meantime, someone starts noodling. John starts hitting a beat, and then we have that much of something. Chris is like, quick, record it.
I always have my laptop ready to go because we'll just start jamming out of nowhere. Like he's saying, like someone will just start doing something, and like I usually pick up on whoever it is, whether we've had songs where our reference track started out with the bass, or me and the drums, or me and the guitar, and it's just like I hear it, and I'm like, and as soon as I hear it coming, I'm like, boom, record on my laptop for that reference track.
Oh, cool.
And I start going off, and the other couple start chiming in, and I mean, like we've created full songs like that. And then we also have like the little pieces like you with the loops and the hooks or whatever,
Yeah, I think that being in a band right now is really cool in terms of technology and how easy it is now to like record decent sounding demos yourself at the space. Like I have like demos from high school still where it's like, just like my, really abrasive grindcore band recording through one microphone in a basement where it's like, yeah, like you could totally make out what this is. And it's just like nothing but,
right.
But now, I mean, like you could throw like an average cell phone in the middle of the room and it's going to pick up like okay audio. It's awesome. And it's like really cool. A lot of my friends that are in bands all seem to be taking advantage of that in the practice space and in terms of like doing like just putting songs together, ideas for things, like.
Yeah, I'm not shuffling through cassettes looking which one can I tape over.
was that the move back in the day?
That was how we did it. Yeah, with a little boom box on the other end of the room. And,
that's killer.
Cassettes.
Hell yeah! I remember whenever I first started trying to make music as like a kid, really really young kid, I was using like a boom box with a built-in microphone. You know what I mean, and just dubbing stuff on that. I still have some of those tapes, which is really really cool. I've like they've been released here and there in different platforms, so some people might know about them, but if not, you can hear the very earliest Psych stuff. Let me know. I'll send you a link to 7-year-old Sykes.
I'm letting you know.
yeah. Remind me. I'll send you a Psycho Man. It's my favorite. It's my favorite track from when I was a kid. It's pretty good. It's
nice.
Oh yeah, yeah. So when did the both of you? I guess we'll start with you, Dave. When did you start playing music?
Was 13 years old when I got my first guitar.
What was the reason like that made you get that guitar?
Metallica.
Fuck yeah. You know? Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
I couldn't, I just say, I had just moved to a new school and from a very white town to more, I was exposed to more.
Sure. Okay.
And there was this kid that was ugly with shaggy hair, but he had a Metallica Master of Puppets back patch on it. I thought that was the coolest jacket I ever seen. And then
oh yeah.
Went to the record store that weekend and got Master of Puppets, and then right after that, I was like, I heard Orion, and then I was like, I have to learn to play the bass. And
dude, hell yeah,
that was it. And then
yeah,
that was it.
Hell yeah. What about you, Christina? When did you start?
I remember writing my first song. I wanted to be a drummer first of all, but when you're born in the projects and you grow up on government cheese and food stamps and powdered milk, you don't get a drum set. And
sure.
Vocals are free.
I mean, like honestly, same exact story, which is like how I got into making beats. But I'll talk about that later. Yeah. More about you.
Yeah. So I remember writing my first song when maybe even like six, seven. I distinctly remember sitting in the dining room at like this little desk thing, writing my first song. Like I heard it and I'm writing the lyrics.
What was the reason for you? Like what was in your life at that time that was making you want to like recreate music?
It's just, it's in my blood. It'll never, my grandfather on my mom's side had his own orchestra, Tommy Payne Orchestra. Tommy Payne was his stage name, not his real name. He had his own full orchestra. He played saxophone. My grandmother sang with him before they had kids. It was a big band.
So yeah, a lot of music in the house.
My
music
dad's side too. Yeah. My other grandfather played accordion, banjo, guitar. So
cool. Yeah,
it's just here.
Yeah,
and then of course life gives you reasons to what to write about and how and why and which way to express. But I
started doing stuff when I was really young too. Definitely came more from the camp that you did. My parents were really, really young when they had me. They were like 16 and 17. It was 1985. So, my dad was like all fucking, Metallica, Megadeth, Maiden, that was the shit I grew up on. And I still love to this day. But, again, low income situation. Like I always wanted to do music. It was never really a thing. I was definitely drawn to drums. By the time middle school got around, and I've told this story before, like, we didn't have, things got a little better. We didn't have a lot of money, but we lived in an apartment and just having like musical instruments was never going to be a fucking thing. But there was like basically a beat making program that got released for the Sony PlayStation.
Yeah, nice.
And I had a PlayStation, so that was like my first ability to be able to make some sort of music was like making electronic music.
And how old were you?
I was probably about 12 or 13 by the time that came out. I was in 7th or 8th grade whenever that dropped. But before then, like when I was like making music, I would just like, I had like a shitty little like, like Family Dollar keyboard. And like, I would just like do like the very typical like Tupperware drum thing, like that Psycho Man song I was telling you about. That's actually like if I send that to you, you have to remind me. It has like the shitty keyboard and like the Tupperware drums. I figured out like when I was a kid where you could dub onto the cassette tape through the microphone, but also because my grandma had a dual tape deck, so there's 2 tapes. You could play one tape on the left side and record on the right, and it would record the audio from the tape on the left side plus whatever the microphone was picking up. So I figured out how to like record the music and then like do my voice on top of it.
You had a 2-track.
Yeah, I technically had a 2-track. So that was cool. And then like, by the time I started picking up, I just like learned about it just through just general curiosity, and like everybody in my family was super into music. Nobody played music, but everybody like listened to a lot of music.
Yeah.
And it was like, wild, kind of the same situation where it was like at my house, my family, you know, my mom listened to like Poison, Rat, and all that shit. My dad was all on the hair metal stuff, and I spent a lot of time with my uncle who lived with my grandmother, and my grandmother was all like Ella Fitzgerald, Aretha Franklin, and my uncle was all like the Kinks, Rolling Stones, that kind of stuff. So it was like this huge, and then at school, I mean, I went to school in Wilkinsburg, so it was like all like whatever was popular at the time, which, you know, that would have been like Dr. Dre and all that stuff. So it was like, I liked all of it just because it was like, I was a fucking kid just loving music. So moving out of this, less about me.
Hold on. So you were talking about the like the little toy type keyboards. You remember the movie Hustle and Flow?
Yeah.
The keyboard that he got, I had that. That's where I started. I had that exact same keyboard.
That movie, I haven't watched that movie like since it came out. Have you ever seen that, David?
There was a snare, there was a cymbal.
That's why I'm shocked. She's seen Hustle. She knows Hustle and Flow, but does not know Spinal Tap.
Oh, wow.
I mean, like, it's not surprising. I don't think so.
But there's a lot of stuff in the world, and you can't know about it all. You just can't.
Right.
But yeah, Hustle.
I mean, I know about it. I just chose not to watch it my entire life this whole time.
There's been things like that I've engaged with, like, at a very, very late age. There was something recently. I can't remember what it was.
They really want me to see Spinal Tap.
They
really
You know, the issue with that is that, like, whenever, like, people start kind of... you got to back off a bit because you're going to hype it up too much and nothing's ever that good. You know what I mean?
Especially when I'm already coming in with like, you're trying to tell me this look, nah, don't look good.
It's funny. It is funny. You know, I don't know what your sense of humor is typically like.
I like to laugh at anything.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if like if you're like into like kind of dry, sarcastic humor and you understand the perils of playing in a band, you'll probably get a kick out of it.
Yeah.
It's good. It's funny.
I mean, like, I prefer watching, obviously it's newer, but Popstar Never Stop, Never Stopping.
Okay, I didn't see that.
You haven't seen that? Oh my gosh, yes.
Okay.
You have to watch Popstar Never Stop, Never Stopping. And is that, did I say that right? But,
is that the one with like Andy Samberg and all them? Okay, yeah. I'm sure it's great. That's the whole Lonely Island crew, isn't that right? Yeah.
You'll watch it like, excuse me, a few times, and you'll always pick up on something new.
When did this come
out?
out?
It just cuts up. I think like maybe a couple years ago.
Okay, yeah, because
it's just constantly cutting up on the music industry. It's fantastic.
I didn't even know that this movie existed just until like last week, actually, because. I guess they just recently put the soundtrack out on vinyl, and I follow some like vinyl blogs and things like that because I still buy records. And I saw it, and I thought that maybe it was a new movie that was coming out. That's the only reason I realized that it connected, because I remember the name, reading it, and then seeing who was in it, and I was like, oh, this makes sense. It's probably funny. It's good. I'm glad to hear that it's funny.
Yeah, you have to check it out.
I'll have to check that out. Hey, you know what? You just did a You Gotta See This.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to do a You Gotta See This. This is a segment I do.
Okay.
So I like to do a segment where I recommend things that I've been watching.
Okay.
And, you know, right. And then I normally ask the listener what they've been watching. And I mean, granted, you haven't watched this recently, but that's definitely You Gotta See This. So Popstar
Never Stop, Never Stopping. You gotta see this.
Tight. Cool. And my You Gotta See This for this week is actually, okay, so you know what? I've already done this on the show twice, but I'm going to do it again just because I'm sitting here with a bass player. But maybe you've already seen this, so we could skip it. Have you ever seen the Michael Anthony drunk bass solo?
No, because I've seen an actual Michael Anthony bass solo, and I couldn't make out anything. It just sounded monotone.
There's this YouTube clip of Michael Anthony playing
I might have been there then.
drunk bass solo from way back in the day, and it is like, it's fucking ridiculous. He's like rolling around on the ground just making noise and yelling.
Is that Van Halen?
Yeah. And I'm not gonna I'll show you off camera. I'm not going to subject the viewers to this again because we've already done it twice at this point, but I will say it's still fucking gold. And if you haven't watched this yet after hearing me talk about it twice already, just YouTube Michael Anthony drunk bass solo. You got to see it. So back into the conversation, you had mentioned that you had a family member with a stage name.
Yeah, my grandfather.
I've been like catching recently, I could count 3 people off the top of my head who are in the local music scene that don't go by their names. Mm-hmm. And it's not like they have stage names like me where it's like, oh, I have Brian and then there's Sykes. They're like, oh, you know, my name is actually Josh, but I go by Doug.
Right.
You know, something weird like that. And it's so strange. I've never asked anybody about it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, for all I know, your name isn't even fucking David. Who knows? I don't know. But I'll like find out about these things. So I'll be talking to people like, oh, I had so-and-so, you know, on the show. They're like, oh, you mean blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what?
It's like going back to Facebook. That's the worst when like you thought that was their name and then you go meet them in person or, you know, and then you come to find out and you just feel like the biggest asshole because you've been calling them that Facebook name the whole time.
Totally. You know, how do you feel about stage names? Like, what do you think? Do you think it's a thing where like people trying to disconnect in this like social media world?
I mean,
or is it like a just people? I don't know what it is.
Trying to create a bigger persona.
I think it's egotistical. Wait,
you think so?
I say that?
I think it could be.
To be fair, it could be.
I think in some ways, it's like there's one person in particular that I know that has like a professional, somewhat medical career outside of playing in a band.
Right.
And maybe it's just an effort to kind of disconnect those two lives.
Yeah.
And I could see that making sense.
That's
but it's just like,
valid, yeah.
It's something that I never really experienced before. And I think maybe now it's just like a side effect of social media because of reasons like that.
Mm-hmm. I think it would be neat to have a name, you know, but I think, I don't know. It depends on the person. I think it's case by case.
I hate Sykes. I hate it.
Do you?
I hate it. I'm so fucking over it. I just, it's, you know, it's a name that I adopted, you know, over half of my life ago. You know, it started out as a graffiti name when I was like in fucking high school.
Right.
Yeah. And like, and I wasn't even like a big graffiti writer, but it was like this thing where it was like, you know, I got out of that, but whenever I started making beats, you know, I was producing beats for other people and recording stuff for other rappers in the area, friends that I knew that I like worked at Taco Bell with and shit like that, you know what I mean? Like really just getting my start. And everybody was like, well, you know, nobody wants to shout out Brian on the track. So I was like, well, just call me Sykes, you know? And then it just stuck. And now it's like, it's just a thing where it's like, I think like I'm just tired of it. And like, social media or the internet has also made me not like it because I don't feel like if I'm going to have a stage name that I make up and I release art under, it should be something a lot more fucking unique than Sykes. Because if you Google search Sykes, I'm not fucking coming up. That's a big part of the reason why I ended up doing Sykes and the New Violence. Why I added that onto it was so you could actually look us up and find something.
Okay. All right. I mean, I like
Sorry,
Sykes.
I sounded like really angry.
I think, you know, I like it. And I'm not one for nicknames. Like, if I meet you or meet somebody that's going to tell me a nickname, I'm like, okay, cool, nice to meet you. Now, what's your real name?
Yeah, it's not weird enough.
Because that's what I'm going to call you.
Yeah.
And, like, if I'm ever talking about you in the scene, like, you know, saying I'm going to see your show or we have a show coming up or the podcast or anything, you know, I'll say, well, you know, Brian Howe, and then I'll say Sykes, but then I'm coming back to Brian Howe. You know, because I prefer real names, you know. Totally. But as a producer, producers definitely have to have that name.
Mm-hmm. I very rarely introduce myself as Sykes.
Yeah.
Typically, the only situations I ever introduce myself as Sykes is like if I'm at some sort of an event and I'm like, say it's like a hip hop show, and if I'm not playing or I am playing, and I'm talking to somebody of some sort of relevance, I'll be like, hey, I'm Sykes, because it makes sense. I don't want to be like, hey, I'm Brian, and then they don't know.
Yeah.
But I feel like, I don't know, just that drawing that line between the two is like really strange to me.
I like your nickname.
Thanks.
If that's what you call it.
A lot of people think my last name is Sykes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that a lot. Because sometimes, like, I guess it probably makes sense because a lot of times when I'm sending emails to people and things like that, it's like, okay, well, I don't know if I want to sign this off as Sykes or Brian. So I've started putting like Brian Sykes, or I'll put Brian / Sykes.
Right.
So people think it's my last name probably as a result of that.
Yeah, quotation marks, something.
Identity. It's such a crucial thing in like so many different ways nowadays.
Yeah.
Why can't it just be about the tunes?
That's what I'm trying to do. Yeah. So I have a question for you. I want to see if you can guess. So the Shadow event is like, you know, it's all over the place musically. So, you know, it's post-punk, new wave, groove trip is the genre that I kind of created, I think, to say for some of the
Creating
songs.
genres is really hard when nobody knows who your band is. I was talking with Back Alley Sound about this. They say, what did they call themselves? It was like Dinosaur Rock Hop or some like weird name that they made up, and I was like, it's fun, but it's like when nobody knows who you are, you can't get away with that. You have to be like,
and it's still not saying what it is.
Yeah, totally.
Like, what does that mean?
But genres
does that mean
really,
you clank like rocks together? Like, what the hell is going on?
Genres are really hard thing, and like nobody just wants to, be like, oh, like, we're a rock band, or even like post-punk, something like that.
Yeah.
I think I made the joke with them as well that like there's 2 genres of music in 2019. There's music with instruments and music that's just computers. So you could do this like, are you an instrument band or a computer band?
Yeah.
Like, we're an instrument band. Okay.
All right, so our songs are like all over the place. We'll have hard songs. We'll have a little bit more of just like rock songs, I guess, but still flavor though, a little edgy. We have like weird songs. We have fun songs. We have like airy, groovy songs. So all of our musical backgrounds are very eclectic. So my guitarist and my bassist, Dave and Mark, like to go see one particular band in concert every time they come through.
Okay.
Who do you think it is?
Okay, so, all right. If it's so there's only a few bands that this could be, because I know that there are a lot of people that do these sorts of things, like a lot of bands that do these sorts of things, but bands that do these sorts of things frequently in Pittsburgh, or do you travel to see them?
When Mark was living in Cleveland, we would travel back and forth, but that was it.
I don't know. I mean,
It starts with an S.
Starts with an S?
It's one word. Slayer.
Was that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, did I hype it up?
No, you just didn't really give me a chance to answer it.
You're taking too long.
I wouldn't have guessed Slayer though. I mean,
Exactly.
That's not necessarily surprising for me, just in terms of like, it makes sense that you like Slayer. You just told me about the Master of Puppets jacket.
Yeah.
And also like, coming from my perspective, it's like I play in Sykes and a New Violence, which is,
Opposite.
it's the complete opposite of
Yeah,
Greywalker.
right.
And you know what I mean? Like if you go in my house, like if you look at my record collection, I have, Prodigy, Pig Destroyer, and Paramore records all next to each other. Like I love all of those bands. So it's just like, I like all that stuff.
Yeah.
It makes sense to me. I got a fucking Boston record next to a Bjork record probably,
Yeah,
whatever. Music's music. I love it.
I
But
just
yeah.
think it's neat. I don't know. Yeah.
Slayer's tight.
Yeah?
Oh yeah. Do you think they're done?
I hope they are.
Yeah.
I don't think anything else that's going to come out with Hanneman gone is going to. I mean, the last album was good, but I think that was it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Hell yeah. Is there anybody that you like to go out of your way to always see, Christina? Or like a favorite?
Bjork would be one, yeah.
Okay.
Bjork, Portishead. Dropkick.
Okay, that's a curveball. Bjork. Okay. Portishead, that makes sense. Dropkick. What?
If the singer was still alive. Actually, I think they got a replacement singer, or they kept going. I think I recently found that out. I don't know. I'm very selective on, Subhumans.
Okay.
Definitely Subhumans, yeah. Every time they come through, even though they came to Bullshit Spirit last time.
Why Bullshit Spirit?
I know, right? I'm such an asshole.
No, why? It's actually, I think that I saw that you had tagged me in the post that like you were at the thing or something, and then somebody else commented on it. Like,
do you want to know that story?
That was kind of like I'm just curious because like I don't know. I mean, I don't have a problem like discussing things like this. I think it's important to talk about them. I was just curious.
Well, those are two separate entities. But so with Spirit, I don't know. I love the venue. The venue itself is amazing. Upstairs, downstairs, just like Kativo, and the back area, and food. I mean, the venue is fantastic. The bartenders are nice. I don't know. I think it was the people. It was the vibe.
Like the crowd.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think that's changing. Would you agree with me?
I mean, it just depends on when you go.
Probably. It depends on the show.
Yeah.
I'm trying to work past that. So I went to see, what are they? I forget what they were called. They're from, I think, New York City. It's like the chick singer. She's like younger. She's real tiny. She kind of like does some like Gigi Allen type stuff on stage.
What?
I cannot remember
Who
the
are you
name of this
talking
band.
about? I wanna
don't
know.
remember. If you go into Howlers, the sticker is right on the back side of the door to go into the band room. So like right behind the handle,
so
right above.
specific.
Because I took a picture of it and I sent it to her and I was like, what's up? Anyway.
Cool. All right. Okay.
Hey.
So you saw
hear
this band.
or not?
You saw this band Spirit. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm with Chad Jockel, Drew Ritchie, okay, which are brothers, and Chad is the owner of Porky's. So a few of us go to see this band, and so I hang out with guys, and I don't like to be in the rough crowd, but I'll monkey around, kind of like a little girly skank and whatever. But so I get them started, I get them revved up. Well, Drew is pretty intoxicated, so I get him started. He's like, he's going around, and then all of a sudden he disappears, and he goes over there, and I'm watching the band, and I don't even see him coming. So I couldn't even brace myself, because, if you see someone coming at you, you brace yourself. Nah. He totally was like, boom. I went airborne, legit airborne. I was horizontal in the air, smashed into another friend. His glass exploded, of his drink, exploded in his face, cut his lip. I still have blood on my hat from it. And so I go airborne, smash into him, glass in his face, and I end up on the ground.
Oh, so that's how you ended up on the ground. Okay.
That's why, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so.
That's no fault of the venue.
But no, it is, because, what would you do if somebody fell right at your feet? What would you do? You'd help them up, right?
Yeah.
I'm a female. There aren't a lot of people at this show. Clearly, they just saw what happened. These two kids. And so I'm on my back, and I'm all right. I just hurt a little bit. And I look up, and I'm like, wow, they're just looking down at me. And so then I reached my arms up to hey, can you help me out? And they just sat there and stared at me. I'm like, are you kidding me? Fucking Spirit.
I don't think it's fair to blame Spirit for that, but fucking people for sure.
Yeah.
Fucking people for sure.
So that was the story on that post.
I'm not coming down there to hug you.
So
You've been on the floor.
I gotta ask, you have band practice, you have shows, things like that after the gig, after practice. Is there a place that the band likes to go, maybe get a drink, get a bite to eat? You have any ritual spots?
No, they go home.
No,
Well, he stays home.
I do my drinking at band practice.
Yeah.
But I do. I go out and shoot pool. I have to decompress. I can't just
So
go
shooting
home.
pool, that's your thing?
Yeah, it's
Cool.
my meditation. Yep. But yeah, they just kind of hang out, and we usually practice at John's house, but he's doing work in his basement, so now we're at his house.
Yeah, we all have jobs and families, so it's when we're done playing, it's pretty much we spend all our time playing until we have to.
Yeah.
We absolutely have to.
Yeah.
Yes, that's our release. That's what we like to do.
Yeah.
That's what I like to do to relax, especially, is just plug in and get loud.
Yeah.
What do you do?
With Grey Walker, we used to have, spots, but now it's just kind of every week somebody else brings a pizza from a different place, and
Nice.
We just kind of
do that.
we just kind of we'll eat some pizza, talk about what's going on.
Yeah.
Do the music stuff, then maybe hang out for a little bit afterwards. It really just depends on the night and what
Yeah.
everybody's doing. It's pretty chill.
Yeah, I gotta start doing that. I used to bring dinners and stuffed shells and Oreo cookies. He'll bring Oreo cookies.
It's crucial.
Probably double stuffs.
It's crucial, music. We talk about music being a family. What brings the family more together than
Food.
a nice plate of food. With Sykes and the New Violence, we don't really do much of anything. Our practices are so sporadic, and we typically only actually run the set if we have a show that week. But we've been trying to get together every week, and what we'll do instead of a practice is get together and work on pre-production stuff for new stuff. Because again, since we don't have a live drummer when we're working on new songs, it's easy for us to just hang out at my house and sit around my computer and try to figure out some ideas, just plug them in, direct into the computer and work out some ideas that way.
There you go.
So that's what we've been doing. But yeah, you know, I think that there are a lot of good places for bands to go and get food after shows or after band practice and things like that. A lot of good options.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that you could just stay away from some of the chains. I'm looking at you, Julia and Jerry Mulligan, and your Denny's. They're on the show this weekend. We're gonna have a really big debate about this.
Yeah.
I think not really. It's a friendly rivalry. I just like
They
I don't
definitely
know.
go to Denny's.
Oh yeah, they fuck with Denny's hard. They are loving Denny's. You know, Denny's. They're like they love it. They fucking love Denny's, and I'm not a fan. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine. I mean, granted, like if I'm on tour or whatever, and like, okay, like,
but if we're
like, oh, I could see a Denny's. There's nowhere else to eat. But like, yeah, you're in your own city.
But to be fair, what time are they going? It's usually after a show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So to be fair, and Denny's is definitely better than Eaton Park.
No way. Did you say fuck Eaton Park on a post of mine recently? Was that you?
I don't know, maybe.
Fuck, because I had posted something about
Probably.
no, yeah. God damn it! I'm glad we're bringing this up before we wrap. I remember I had like a Facebook memories thing pop up where it was like, you know, you said this a few years ago, and it was a post that I made that was like, what was it? Something about like I'm not much of like a fuck. What did I say? Like, it was something about like liking Permanis and Eaton Park and like bleeding black and gold for them, and if you don't like it, I'll make you black and blue or something like.
Yeah, that was just a couple days ago.
Yeah, it was something like that, and I think I remember you. Somebody said "fuck Eaton Park" on that post, and I don't know if it was you or somebody else.
I think I remember saying something like, I think I might have. I don't know. I was like, don't test me or don't get me started. I can look it up.
It doesn't. It's not that important. But, you know, this all goes to show that I can't have that serious of a vendetta against Denny's because I'm definitely team Eaton Park. Like, I like Eaton Park. I don't go a whole lot, but.
Ordered the same exact thing since 1990.
It fucking Eaton Park?
No.
Or
Super
Denny's.
burger, French fries.
Oh, yeah.
Chicken gravy and a nice tea. That's it.
Every
single time.
Milkshake, mushroom Swiss with onions, extra Swiss cheese. That's about it.
Yeah.
That's all I could tolerate at Eaton Park, and chicken noodle soup.
Chicken noodle soup.
Chicken noodle soup.
Yeah, so, I mean, I normally do a you gotta eat this scenario. My you gotta eat this was gonna be, and it still should be, Bebe's Kitchen downtown. It's a fantastic Korean place. Awesome, really good place for a date night or just, you know, a casual thing. If you're into Asian cuisine, highly suggest Bebe's Kitchen. You got to eat it. But my bigger you got to eat it is going to be Eaton Park all the way. A Pennsylvania original, I do believe. You know, fuck Denny's. Fuck Denny's. And we're going to settle this up on the upcoming episode with Julia and Jerry Mulligan. And then, you know, so we're hitting it about an hour here, so we're gonna be wrapping up soon. Yeah. You know, before we drop your like where people can find you and all that stuff, do you got anything else you want to get off your chest?
Yeah, I want to know where you're gonna play in Scratch.
Oh,
and they have amazing food there, by the way.
Okay, so I played there. It's just like in the corner where they there's like a piano on the bar side in the corner. In the back corner,
yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about. So they moved the piano, or?
No, I don't think.
Like, where would you move?
I don't think so. Huh. No, they clear out some of the other stuff. We played there back in like February or March, maybe. Yeah. I think, but yeah. So my battery on the camera is dying. Look at that. I see it. So we should probably. Where can people find you?
Okay, so we're not on Spotify yet. So Bandcamp, SoundCloud, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We got to work on that a little bit. And look out for new music. And they could find us at the Hard Rock Cafe this Saturday night with the Molecule Party.
This is going to be way after that. This goes up July 8th. So if you were that show was awesome. You should have been there. It was a really good time. You said you're with the Molecule Party?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm stoked to see them with She Wants Revenge. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Okay, but you could catch us, Sykes and the New Violence, and the Shadow event, July 26th at Get Hip Records.
Yes.
And that is all, folks.
Thanks, man.
Thanks so much for
Always
listening.
good to see you.
Hope
Love
you
you,
enjoyed
man.
the conversation. Dave, awesome
Bye, guys.
meeting you.
Come
Always.
see us.
I'm just like doing my outro, and she's just blah, 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 blah. She's like, I don't know how any of this stuff works. I'll be back. Whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. I'll be back again next time with another episode. Same time, same place. You know the drill. My name is Sykes. Start the Beat 2019. Woo, woo. Thanks for listening. Hell yeah. Thanks for coming over. Seriously. It's good meeting you both.
Sorry.
Well, good meeting you. I've met you.
Sorry about that.
It's fine. Oh, look. Perfect timing.
Wow. Yeah, it was. Totally.